She drove with one hand on the wheel and the other reaching back to me in the back seat. She cooed promises about San Francisco. I slavered miserably over it. At 10, I took the wheel. Neil was out for hours. I drove several hundred dreary miles across the bushy snows and ragged sage hills. Cowboys went by in baseball caps and earmuffs, looking for cows. Comfortable little homes with chimneys smoking appeared along at roads on the intervals. And I wish we could go in for buttermilk and beans in front of the fireplace. At Sonora, I again helped myself to free bread and cheese while the proprietor chatted with a big rancher on the other side of the store. Neil huzza'd when he heard it. He was hungry. He couldn't spend a cent. We could not spend a cent on food. Yes, yes, said Neil, watching the ranchers loping up and down the Sonora Main Street. Every one of them is a bloody millionaire. 1,000 head of cattle, work hands, buildings, money in the bank. If I lived around here, I'd be an idiot in the sagebrush. I'd lick up the branches. I'd look for pretty cowgirls. Hee 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 hee, bam, bam. He socked himself. Yeah, all right, oh me. We didn't know what he was talking about anymore. He took the wheel and drove the rest of the way across the state of Texas, about 500 miles, clear to El Paso, arriving at dusk and not stopping except once when he took all his clothes off near Ozona and ran like a jackal through the sage, yipping and leaping. Cars zoomed by and didn't see him. He scurried back to the car and drove on. Now Jack, now Luann. I want both of you to take all your clothes off. Now what's the sense of clothes? Sun your bellies, come on. We were driving west into the sun and it fell through the windshield. Open your belly as we drive into it. Luann took her clothes off. I decided not to be a fuddy and I did likewise. We sat in the front seat. Luann took out cold cream and applied it to us for kicks. Every now and then a big truck zoomed by. The driver in a high cab caught a glimpse of a golden beauty sitting naked with two young men, naked. You could see them swerve a moment as they vanished out the rear window, and Great Sage Plains, snowless now, rolled on. Soon we were in the orange-rocked Pecos Canyon country. Blue distances opened up in the sky, and we got out of the car to examine an old Indian ruin. Neil did so stark naked. Luann and I put on our overcoats. We wandered among the old stones, hooting and howling. Certain tourists caught sight of Neil naked in the plain, but they could not believe their eyes, and they wobbled on. In the middle of the Pecos country, we all began talking about what we would be if we were Old West characters. Neil, you'd be an outlaw for sure, I said, but one of those crazy kick outlaws, galloping across the plains and shooting up saloons. Luann would be one of those dancing hall beauties, and Bill Burroughs would live at the end of town, a retired Confederate colonel, in a big house with all the shutters drawn, and come out only once a year with his hot shotgun, to meet his connection in the Chinese alley. Al Hinkle would play cards all day and tell stories in a chair. Hunky would live with the Chinaman. You'd see him cut under a street lamp with an opium pipe and a cue. Well, what about me, I said. Oh, you'd be the son of a local newspaper publisher. Every now and then, you'd go mad, ride with the Wild Bug gang for kicks. And Allen Ginsberg, he'd be a scissor sharpener coming down from the mountain once a year with his wagon, and he'd be predicting fires. And fellows in from the border would make him dance with hot-foot bullets. Joan Adams, she'd live in the shuttered house. She'd be the only real lady in town, but nobody'd ever see her. We went on and on, scouring our rogues gallery. In later years, Allen would come down from the mountain, bearded, and wouldn't have scissors anymore, just songs of catastrophe, and Burroughs would no longer come out of his house for maybe once a year, and Luann would shoot old Neil as he staggered drunk from his shack, and Al Hinkle would outlive all of us, telling stories to youngsters in front of the Silver Dollar. Hunky would be found dead one cold winter in an alley in the morning. Luann would inherit the dance hall and become a madame and a power in the town. I would disappear to Montana, never to be heard from again.